able to join us. My name is Nadia. I am the chair for Black History Manitoba and the program director. This is Rhonda. She is the treasurer and basically everything else that we need her to do. We all know who this is, and I'll get him to introduce himself. Thank you for joining us. We had a lot more people sign up, so maybe they'll be coming in, but we're going to start because we don't want to be too far off our time. And we're going to start streaming if we're not already. We're on. And we're gonna
some people are getting hungry too.
Yeah, I get started as I'm going down the hall. So.
Tonight, right?
So anyway, this is Chef Rob. We have been lucky enough to have him join us. This will be your third or fourth? Third year. And he's got his team here. We are going to be cooking. I don't even know what we're cooking yet. So it's going to be a surprise for me as well. But relax, ask questions. I'm going to come back in a little bit and harass him a little. And we're going to have a couple of questions for you. We talk about history in relevance to the food, usually what he's cooking. Sometimes I just throw in something out of the extraordinary, just to throw him off his game a bit. But as being an international chef, it's really an honor to have him join us. So we will welcome you. Thank you for being here, and the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming down and coming to this demo and learning a little bit about Black history and food that surrounds it. And I've got some really great recipes for you. We're going to be doing 4 dishes. There's going to be 5 recipes. So we're going to be going through this at a fairly good pace. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask at any time. And it's great to see you all. Great to see some familiar faces and new people. So I'm going to be cooking 2 dishes, and we're going to kind of start cooking them around the same time. The first one, we are going to do a Haitian. Has anyone ever had Haitian food before? It's one of those cuisines that's extremely delicious, but maybe it's just not as common. And we're seeing that with a lot of different types of Caribbean food now. We're starting to gain a little bit of traction. It's starting to get a little bit more popular. So one of the things I'm actually going to start off with is a seasoning. So this seasoning is called Appetit. Now, Appetit to Haitians is like green seasoning or sofrito. What it is, it's a combination of some herbs, some vegetables, sometimes a little bit of spice, and it's used as a base for so many dishes, soups, stews, rices, just about anything you could think of. So we're going to start off by making that. We're going to get some onions, the food processor here, a little bit of garlic, I can send you all the recipes. I don't have copies with me, but I can definitely send you some green onions, a little bit of celery. Now, whenever I use celery, and say if I'm not picking up like the store, whenever I'm grabbing the stalks, I'm that guy who grabs the ones with. I know some people don't find it desirable, but these leaves have incredible flavor. We have a little bit of thyme. That is fresh thyme. I have a little bit of cilantro here. Give it a nice tear. A little bit of parsley. We're going to get to the splash one and the other peppers right away, but it's important when you make this dish, 2 things in sequence. can't just throw everything into a blender or food processor. I'm going to start with this. There we go. We got it down to a really nice mince, and then we can start adding. We can start adding some other ingredients. Get the peppers in. These are just bell peppers, red and green. And when you look up different recipes for this piece, and a lot of recipes, like cultural recipes, you're going to find a lot of variations in them, and they differ from region to region, from cook to cook, from household to household. So there's really no incorrect way. If it comes out tasting fantastic, then you do it. Scotch bonnets, favorite peppers. So if you're not familiar with Scotch bonnet, these have a really wicked to them. They actually have a fruitiness at the end. If you can get past a little bit of that heat, and I'm not saying you guys start chewing these things and waiting to see if you can taste some fruit. But I'm saying, if anyone did, what you would do is you actually grab a pinch of salt, put it on top. So let's get this Scotch bonnet in here. It'll be a little less potent, but the difference is, like, when you look at the size of the pepper, it's so small. If you had, some of like the larger peppers, you can scoop out the seeds, then yeah, you would definitely take away a lot of the heat. But for these, you're going to take away a little bit, but it's not as much. I encourage you to keep the heat. A glass of water is something. We're just going to finish this. Okay, so while that's mixing, we're going to get a little bit of lime juice in here. This one lime should do it. We get a splash of apple cider vinegar. I have some ground cloves here. Remember I said there's going to be some spices in here. So I'm just going to put maybe a few teaspoons in there. And then we're going to bring it all together with a little bit of olive oil. You probably can't smell it from here, but there's a lot of really fantastic things happening. So this is kind of what it looks like. Like exactly what it is. But it smells wonderful. This is what it should look like. You know? It's weird, it's like another person. It doesn't talk back, or you don't get any reaction from them. They're just someone just staring at you like this the whole time. Okay, so this dish or this recipe is part of a larger recipe. This dish that we are going to make is called poulet Creole. Poulet Creole, Asian stewed chicken, filet on sauce. These are all different names for this same dish. And this is a dish that's very common in one of the Sunday dinners. Very common. Get this pot really hot right. So I pre-marinated these a little bit, but I have some chicken thighs in there. And again, like I said, this is the marinade, this is the seasoning. You can see how we incorporated this into the dish again. And so I took the skin off because I really wanted all that flavor to get to the meat. And it's just been sitting for, I would say, maybe a day or so. So first thing we want to do is we want to brown the chicken. Almost there. So let's just go over the ingredients. You always want your pan or pot or anything that you're cooking, you want to get it nice and hot first. So it's not plain. It's not hot. So we have some onions. I have some diced tomatoes. I have some bell peppers. I have some more scotch bonnet. Don't worry, not all of it. And if you guys want, so let's see where we're at. See that sound right there? That's what tells you that everything is hot and ready to go. Now this will splatter a little bit. So this pot, referred to as Dutch oven, Dutchy, here it's called. This is your one-stop shop when it comes to pots. This is you can bake right in here, you can steer different types of meat, vegetables, soups, stews, just about anything. Roasts. One of my favorites. Pots in the kitchen. A little bit on either side. Usually want to wait for them to get a little bit more brown, but for time's sake, we're going to make sure that they have their nice hooks on there. Again, we want to season from above, even though we've seasoned these before. As we start cooking, you always want to start adding layers of different layers of flavor. The more you add in the beginning, the less you add at the end. I'm just going to remove these. peppers. A little bit of garlic. Now, I don't like adding my garlic in there right away. Bottom. Garlic is a little bit more delicate. Burns quite easy. And you don't want that. We want to kind of preserve that flavor. I don't know if you guys can start smelling this now. We're definitely getting there. I'm going to add some potatoes. You can add like canned diced tomatoes if that's what you got. It's going to be stewed anyway, so. So we're going to add a little bit of Creole spice in here. This is the blend that I made myself. Creole spice is typically garlic powder, onion powder, some paprika, usually a pinch of cayenne, and then there's herbs, so you're getting a little bit of basil, a little bit of parsley, oregano there as well. And it just all comes together. And we also have black and white pepper. So we're going to add a little bit of that. You know what? In the Caribbean, we season our food generously. Generously. That's why it tastes so good. Exactly. Got a little tomato toothpaste here. The thing you have to really keep in mind when you put tomato paste in just about anything, it needs a little. Don't just throw it in there and then just start throwing it right away. You gotta give it a minute or two, depending on how high the heat is. I'm gonna get this chicken back in here. All the juices. Just stir that around. We want that tomato paste. Everything that's in there to coat that chicken and coat that tomato paste. So next up, remember how I told you this seasoning base? Use it for soups and stews and just about everything. We're going to take a generous helping. We're going to go back in that. All these different layers of flavoring, seasoning, coming together. Peace. EPIS. Then we're going to add a little bit of chicken broth here. Scotch bonnet. Now, this dish always comes with its own heat profile, and there is Scotch bonnet in the seasoning. So I don't want you to think that this dish is just going to leave your mouth on fire by me putting another Scotch bonnet in there. But we're going to drop it in there whole, like this. I know there was a question about the seeds. Or if you want to get the essence of the Scotch bonnet pepper, and you're cooking a soup, a stew, something like that, you can actually just take the pepper like this, drop it in. Just make sure when you pull it out, you don't squeeze it, because all those peppers, seeds you're trying to keep out will just go back in. Okay, so we are going to let that simmer. And you know what? I got a little bit of extra time here, and I don't think it ever hurts a little bit. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining. I'm going to put this to the side, and then we're going to get our next recipe. Okay, so while we're waiting for this to simmer, we are going to get our next dish going. Some of you may have had it before. Some of you may have think you've had it. This next dish is something we call macaroni pie. Macaroni pie is one of those quintessential Caribbean dishes. It's not particular to one island. In fact, most of the islands make macaroni pie, and it's been something that I grew up on. And there's certain things that the stations that we love about macaroni pie. It's also these noodles, not like your elbow macaroni. And to tell you the truth, I don't know where you can get them. Possibly. I actually brought these back to Turks and Caicos. So in Caribbean islands, you'll find this as one of the pastas. Okay. So let's get this started. We're going to get a tiny bit of butter. Yes, tiny bit. Yes, that little thing. We're going to get some onions in here. Again, we're just starting our base of flavor here. Pinch of salt. So this dish really reminds me of my childhood. I was a picky eater growing up, and there were few things that that I had no complaints about on them. Really high. Well, I didn't know if there were onions in them. I don't know. Mom's watching. Were there onions in there? But unless you're allergic to them or you feel like you have like a very, very strong aversion to them, most times you won't know that they're. In fact, there's onions in so many things that I think it's even too hard to count. Okay, so let's talk about the differences of macaroni pie versus mac and cheese. For one, macaroni pie is typically done with evaporated milk. So it's a little bit, actually, just a little bit. Again, and one quick note about when it's like this Frio seasoning, and anytime you're using seasoning blends, the other ingredients contribute to the final taste of the dish. So just because you use it in here, it doesn't mean that everything is going to be. Keep that in mind. So we're going to pour this evaporated milk in here. This is something that I adapted. I have a little bit of a problem following recipe. That's okay. Perfectly healthy to have a problem. That's a good question. So, why are we using evaporated milk, as opposed to milk or cream? You can use milk or cream. Growing up as when I was younger and we were going to the Caribbean, it's not like you don't have milk there, but there's a lot of milk products. For example, something like powdered milk is a lot more common here. And a lot of these islands don't have that type of livestock that we have as well. So it's getting expensive to start bringing in dairy from different parts of the world. So things that are usually canned usually come with a better price tag and a longer shelf. So I'm going to add some cheese. Not all, just a little bit. Yeah, I have a mixture of cheddar here, and there's a little bit of orange cheddar and extra strong white cheddar. And I guess I could have just gone with white cheddar, but again, it's one of those nostalgic things where it's the orange. We wanted to start cooking this down. This is something that you're going to find that it's actually a lot more dense. So, like I said, this is macaroni pie, not mac and cheese. Very similar, but also significant. Mac and cheese is something that you would find being very soft. This end result is not very soft. It's So I'm going to stir this because it can burn. We want to stir this till reach a certain state called not to be confused nappy. Nappy. What is nappy? Nappy is the French term when it comes to cooking, is that the sauce can go back. Yeah, I probably know it right. Put this in. I think I still want to get it up to a little bit of a boil. And a little bit of pepper. Yeah, it's a Scotch bonnet. Scotch bonnet pepper sauce. Surprise. Okay, so this is starting to bubble, starting to reduce a little bit. I'm going to get the noodles here. It's still called macaroni, but it's just in the Caribbean. That's just kind of what you find as the macaroni. Pardon me? Yeah, these ones were pretty good. Oh yeah, you're right. I did pre-cook these ones. This one's coming looking a little saucy, a little bit more than I like it. Usually we have a little bit more time to reduce this, but this is still going to reduce a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of mustard. Yeah, I like these ones. If it's mustard, it's always good. Now, some of you might be thinking, why are we putting mustard in here? Let me tell you something about mustard and cheese. I don't know why exactly, but there's something about mustard and cheese really well together. And you're not even going to taste mustard. It just really enhances the flavor. You always want to keep stirring, as we do have dairy in here, and it could very well burn. Another thing that you don't see in mac and cheese is egg. This is still hot. Yes. And I still have a little bit of cheese left. That goes in. And then we have this egg. And we just want to get it stirring with this. Then I'm going to get this egg in here. We're going to want to stir it really quick. This is 2 eggs. So that what that egg is going to do, that egg is just going to help really like firm things up. And what you're going to be left with now, it is going to look a little bit saucy, but that's not how our end product is going to. It's not going to end up. Oh, we're going to be baking. We got a door, and I got some ready. It takes a good 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the size. Yeah, if you want to go and take a look. Absolutely. So I said this does look a little saucy. little bit more than I like it. Usually we reduce the sauce a little bit. But so this is a fryer type. And then you would have had the cheese. It's a little more saucy than I like, but usually like the sauce. And then we get to put it here, and we want to try and get it flat. If you want to reduce it, how do you reduce it? That's a big question. You have to put it on low, and you just got to stir. Now, typically, this dish is finished with more cheese on top. But that's not going to happen. Okay, I think we got enough cheese in here. We're doing okay. What I have here, because I love putting my own twist on things, is crushed fried plantain. You're not familiar? Green plantain. This is the yellow plantain getting a little bit more ripe. So the different stages will dictate how you actually cook them. These ones are coming from the green because the green is a little bit starchier. It fries better. The sugars haven't developed yet. When you get to this stage, it starts getting soft. Like this isn't even ready yet. Usually, you'll get a few more black spots, and it'll look very, very dark. But when you cut it open, you put that right there. I'll tell you, it takes you to a whole different place. So I have these crushed plantain chips. I melted a tiny bit of butter, just mixed it in. And then we're just gonna finish it just by getting all this little bits off. And once we're done baking it, you're going to get a little bit of that crunch, that texture. And that's one thing I really love about food is not just the different levels of flavor, it's different levels of texture. All contribute to it. It's a very different taste to a banana. In fact, you actually have to cook it. Sometimes it's actually referred to as cooking banana, but you don't want to. Even if you see one of these and they're just like a bright yellow, like a banana. Yeah. Worst smoothie ever. I actually went and just went and bought some chips. Yeah, it's when you're making a crust like this, I feel like it's a lot of work to slice them, after grind them, and so yeah. It works with almost any type of chip. If you're using any type of chip, even a potato chip or something, don't make it. Just counterproductive. It's going to take you so much more time just to make those from this aside, and bear with me for a moment. We have some brewing time and some of that Kool-Aid Creole. This is
Magic hour.
All right, give me 1 minute and I'm gonna get some food.
Alright. That's funny, when we talk about the planting, because a lot of different cultures use planting in so many different ways. So I know that the Filipino culture uses it differently than the Caribbean. We usually do South Street in the mornings for breakfast, fry this up with some eggs, with some bread. I promise. I promise. It's pretty right? Yeah. And then with the green ones, you boil it, put it in soup. That's what we use it for. And to the mash it, porridge, yeah. So those all different things. It's kind of good. It's very versatile and different ways that we can do. Um, Speaking of different things, so we are almost done Black History Month. Um, the cities for this year. So we have about 4 events left. And this one, pop in a little caveat. We do have a trivia night trivia day on Saturday. It's a virtual one. Go online, join it, and we're talking about the quarter. So if you haven't seen it yet, in the left, correct? If you haven't seen the production of the quarter, we're talking, it's an open book quiz, it's really easy, it's fun. So you can join us if you go to BHM.com. There's a link there, you can share the information on how to participate, get that quiz going. And then on Saturday evening, we have a youth night, which is a networking event with our young people. Some of the Black community together to panel discussion. Of course, it's get open, everybody's excited. All these events are free, put on by Black Manitoba. So you're not going to be paying attention to me anymore. So I was just trying to help you along there, get them entertained while you do your thing. Yeah, I like your presentation.
Presentation is everything.
It is.
I would say it's the best. Certainly not the worst. I like doing it if you can actually like see it. All right, you guys enjoy that. Give me a few minutes and I'll set up for the. Exactly, right? So it's sometimes it's the way that the ingredients interact with each other. So when you're looking at recipes, calling for
Yeah, because I wasn't doing the whole thing.
it's not really known as a
I'll come back.
hot dish, maybe it just has a little bit of spice to it, then it's
If you
probably
check
pretty
out the whole
accurate
thing.
in the way you add it. I always think proceed with caution though.
Yeah.
Poulet Creole. Poulet Creole.
Yeah.
Pardon me? Go for that right now. Ginger beer.
Some ginger ale. Chef Dog doesn't want me to bring out the soda.
No. That's ginger ale.
Very quiet in here. It's the sound of. It's sound of happy puppies.
Absolutely.
So we talked last time about your travel and how it pertains to history. So my question this time for you is, so if you, when you go traveling, what would you say would be a dish that would represent home? I would say you're in Turks and Caicos and they say, Rob, you're from Manitoba. Look at something that's going to represent, you don't have to say a word. You cook it, we're going to know where you're from.
That represents Manitoba. That's an interesting one. Again, there's food is nostalgic. So it's funny you actually asked that question because in December I actually had a group of 19 people I was looking for, and they came in and they're introducing themselves and they say, Jeff, where are you from? I'm Canadian. And I usually say Canadian because everyone wrong. I just say Canadian. No, we're in Canada. I'm from Winnipeg. I'm from Winnipeg. I was surprised to have people from Winnipeg there. And they're part of the group always kind of gave this one guy a little bit of a hard time. Very, very pro Winnipeg. So I decided to give them a little bit of taste of Winnipeg Paladin first potatoes.
I was gonna accept pierogi as well.
Pierogi that worked too.
That would have worked, but that's good.
They loved it. They loved it. You know, in fact, that's I had what was it? I think it was New York Rangers in town, and when I got a call from their meals, it's not always like something extremely healthy. That they're still pretty much kids.
Yes.
And they just want some like luxurious, or not luxurious, fun food. So when I got that call, they said, "Hey, these guys really want chicken. Really have you want chicken fingers?" And I said, "Yeah, you know, in fact, it's actually, you know, this is the end of 10-day stretch on the road into 4 other cities, and every single city they ask for chicken. They just want to know which city where you get the best chicken fingers." Well, I'm proud to say they told me that mine were the best. Thank you. And I did do a little bit of honeydew sauce for them, and it was really funny because watching everyone go through, like they kept on calling it local sauce. I guess it is, but it was just kind of weird hearing it called like local sauce. This local sauce. All right. What are you gonna do with that? All right. Let's get into another. Okay, so you guys had some savory. Now we're going to get into a little bit of the sweet. So have a little bit of water here. Going to get a little bit of this yeast in here. This is instant yeast, so it doesn't really need a lot of cooling time. This next dish is called mandazi. So mandazi is an East African Greek food. These are essentially donuts. These donuts aren't just your regular donuts, and you are going to see why. So I have that instant yeast in there. You can use active dry yeast. Big difference between instant yeast and active dry yeast is that active dry yeast requires 2 times to lift it. Whereas instant yeast, I think just. So we have that in here. I'm going to add a little bit of coconut milk. And if you don't have this, you don't have yeast, you can use a little bit of baking powder in there. But I'll tell you the big difference is the flavor of the yeast in there. That's why I always go with it. So while that's sitting there, I'm going to add a little bit of cardamom. And add a little bit of fresh nutmeg. Get your hands on the best. A little bit of salt. A bit of sugar. A little bit of shredded coconut. Just going to give that a little bit of a mix. Always mix your dry ingredients first. And that's going to make like a little bit of a well in there. One egg. Then we're going to get that yeast mixture in there. Slowly incorporate it. I like doing about a third at a time. Really put together. Oh. That's enough for everything. Right, so let's just start pulling this thing together. It is a little sticky. Now this dough. Normally I would say just leave this on the cutting board, but I'm trying to keep this cutting board clean. And it is going to be sticky. It is going to be very sticky. Too sticky, you can add a little bit of flour, but I honestly feel like at this point, you just kind of want to let this sit. Let it sit. It'll do its first rise. Then we'll have to punch it down. Once it's all kneaded and everything. Have this dough. It feels kind of very bready. How long do I let it sit for? So if this is like traditional active dry yeast, you're going to want to let it sit for about an hour, 2 hours, right? You just want it to double in size. Then you're going to punch it down and then just kind of knead it a little bit more and cut it into small pieces. This is just one piece. The recipe makes quite a lot. And then you're going to want to cut this piece into smaller pieces and then let it fry. So I would usually let this rest for a tiny bit after I cut these pieces. I'm going to have to get another recipe going while this is up. Okay, we are going to get back to this, but for now, I just have a little bit of water in there. I have a couple of bay leaves going in here. Okay, so we just want to wait and bring that to a boil. That's an induction burner, so it shouldn't take long. And the reason why we do this is we want to just start extracting some of those flavors from cinnamon sticks. Notice I haven't told you what we're making. Where are we going with this? I'm going somewhere, I promise you. I'm going somewhere. And I'm taking you with me. So I have some coconut milk going into that water, and cinnamon and bay leaf mixture. This is going to have to simmer too. So, all right, I think it's time to let you guys in. Making cocoa tea. Cocoa tea is one of those feel good, warm you from the inside Caribbean drinks. Typically, this was a drink that you would find around Christmas. But as years go on and this drink becomes more popular and a little bit more of a favorite to many, it's just drinking all around. So there's different names for it. I'm calling it cocoa tea. Sometimes you're going to hear it called chocolate. Or it's just hot chocolate. But this is what they're talking. So this is a cocoa ball right here. Sometimes you can get it in state, but typically you find it like this. So inside here is cocoa, sugar, I got this at the Caribbean. But if they don't have it, just remember the ingredients that go in here, right? Cocoa. Something like this, we would just break this in. And this just makes it go faster. You could probably take maybe 5-10 minutes longer on this just by throwing the whole thing in. But it will. Sure that's boil over. You want to let this. You want to let this kind of simmer. But that being said, I told you that there was a little bit of sugar in there. There's not enough. There's not enough. It is mainly cocoa, so you are going to get that bitterness. So add a little bit of. I remember growing up, and I remember having to be eaten. Kids, we just like to sit there and just pop a can and just. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's still fun to do. Still do one set of. We're just gonna put that at a low simmer. Another thing about cocoa tea is that it's got some really great properties. If you're looking to switch up your hot chocolate routine, this is the way to go. Reason number one, it is originally less to get something. Typically less sugar. I'm doing this because that condensed milk it does just add a little bit of richness. But the properties you get from actual much better than type of absolutely great. Good for you. Sure. Okay, so let's get back to this dough, this mandazi. So I'm just going to cut it in little pieces. Like typically you'd find them like in triangles like that. I'm just going to cut them in. Right. Okay, so we have our oil. Our oil is a little bit hotter than you would normally fry. Like typically when you're frying, you're frying between 50, 60. That's usually kind of like things can burn less quick fry. I am using canola oil. I use canola oil, I guess, when it comes to frying, partly because to get frying. I have done it, but it can turn into a lot. This will come out just as good. Starting to get nice and brown. It's not taking too long. Again, we want them nice and like hot. this puck. So we're getting puffed up really nice. See, it took a little bit more, but it's almost there. We're getting this nice, airy and doughy. Whenever you're frying in pot, you're gonna have to keep on watching your temperature. In fact, whenever I fry like olive oil in a pot, as I start cooking, I really regulate that temperature. I usually turn it down a tiny bit. Because what's going to happen is it's just going to keep on getting. In here. Go. All in there. Still have those cinnamon sticks in there. We still have that bay leaf in there. We'll keep it in there until it's time to serve. As soon as these get brown on one side, let's give it another little flip. There we go. Cocoa tea sometimes needs to be strained just because there are solids and to make the cocoa foam, it has to be like very, very compressed. Powdery. Ready to go with mandazi. Ready to go. I love these. Pre-day. But keep in mind, these can actually be served in a more state. It's not sweet. I just have a sweet. You just have a little bit. I would still keep, still keep. These are like those are spices that are typically there's no rule to use them. In fact, one of my favorite spices, cinnamon, I use it as a just like how you use it, what really works well. So here I just have a little bit of icing sugar and some cinnamon. Giving it a toss. What do you guys think? You guys think you guys are ready for? You can smell it. All right. Auntie, I'm about to be under attack here. Okay, so enjoy your mandazi. I'm going to get you guys a little bit of local tea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw that on the Concord.
Yeah. So if you guys don't know, last was the Black History Month game at the Winnipeg. It was a fantastic turnout, wonderful evening. Black History Manitoba was there. You were everywhere. You guys were everywhere. You guys missed it. These two lovely ladies sang the national anthem.
There's another one of the singers hiding in the background. Yes.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I actually got to see them in I saw you guys, but the national anthem was quite absolutely wonderful. On my part, I was able to help curate a menu that reflected Caribbean culture and African culture. So we had a few items there. There was a pulled jerk pork sandwich with mango slaw. There was a little burger that we used the same mango slaw with. There was beef patties. There was mandazi, and there was also ginger beer. There was like a banana refreshment. Amazing evening. And thank you guys.
Oh, thank you.
All right, so you guys eat those already?
It was
All right. Okay, I'm gonna make you guys some cocoa tea. Thank you for 1 moment.
Also live on our YouTube channel right now. That is Black History Manitoba. Yeah. Night. Take up space. Panelists presenting, and it's a youth-led initiative. So, having some dialogue, having some refreshments, and giving an opportunity for conversation and finding out about what's going on in our community and who's amongst us and what we all do. So that's going to be a great event, and that's a new event that we're presenting this year. On Sunday, we will have a brunch with our friends at 3K, and we will be having donations being brought in for Canada, and then we're going to be doing so we'll have a DJ there. Check out our Eventbrite for more information.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good.
Oh no, I saved it. I killed the other one. Ooh, that was pretty quick. That was. Yeah. So we managed to get 4 dishes, 5 recipes. this chicken, I'm going to go through this for you guys. So this was our plantain encrusted macaroni pie. Then over here, we have our poulet Creole, Haitian dish. And we have mandazi, East African dish, East African donuts. There's a little bit of cardamom in there, some coconut, really fantastic flavors. And then cannot forget cocoa tea. Are there any questions? All right now. All right, I'm going to share something with you. No, I said I don't follow recipes, but I do read cookbooks. And yes, Jubilee, this book is really great with like Southern U.S. type of cooking. There's a lot of tradition in here. There's some really great stories behind the dishes. I think this was one that I actually adapted a recipe from this too. It was a shrimp and grits, so we did for the Juneteenth. Yes, that was a really good one. This one, My America, from Kwame Onwuachi. This is not about American cuisine. This is about him being in the U.S. and African descent, if I'm remembering correctly, and he does a lot of Caribbean, African, Southern United States. He has a few restaurants in the States. I'm really excited that one day I know I'll be there. I'm excited right now. This is an interesting one. Keto Gastro, Black Power Kitchen. It's a great book. It's a cookbook. It's a history book. I feel like it's part manifesto of how these there's three chefs that come together. They come together and really dive deep into African, Caribbean, Creole, really interesting good stuff. So you don't have to follow recipes, but one of the things that I love to do is I actually just really like reading.
If you're not a big reader and you want to get some more information about culinary voyages through history, a good watch is on Netflix, High on the Hawk. It's got 2 seasons. They've got excellent High on the Hawk.
I haven't seen the second season yet.
Yes, the second season came out.
It just came out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's really great, and it's a good walk through history. They do cooking and they talk about a lot of it is American history, but still relevant and really a great way to learn.
I find it entertaining too. Like it's very entertaining. It's not one of those shows that you watch and you just kind of wait for it to end.
They're like real people talking and sharing their stories. So that's awesome.
So I just want to thank you guys again for coming to this demo. Are you sure there's no questions? Don't feel obligated.
I have a question though.
Question in the back.
Oh, there's a question about
Okay, how did I get interested? That's a good one. I was one of 4 boys in the family. I hold the title as the youngest, along with my brother. And growing up, parents had a really hard time getting me to eat. And it wasn't because the food was bad. I was a kid. I didn't like the look of certain things. I was thinking for reasons beyond my knowledge. I still can't even think back. Why did I do that? But it took my mom started to influence me on cooking, being in the kitchen, cooking for my family. And, you know, next thing I know, I'm in the kitchen, helping cook dinner, chasing down my brothers, saying, hey, the dinner's ready. Come and eat. And I think that as a kid, you don't really realize like the importance when your parents or who's ever making you dinner says, "Hey, come and eat." Sometimes you take it for granted, but it really comes down to the love and effort that was put into that dish. So it's not about waiting and showing up when you're ready. It's showing up when food is ready. That was one of the most important lessons I learned. And fast forward many years later, I've had a lot of different influences from travel to working with different chefs, some of my own exploration, learning from random you would learn from. But everything that I've done has molded me into the chef that I am today. And I pride myself in being forever a student to the culinary arts. You could never learn enough. I don't ever want to feel that I'm in a position where I think that
My question was actually kind of sarcastic because your measurement is so long.
well, again, it's
Your little is
I know, especially when it's butter. It's always like little knob of butter can be big. But when it comes to seasoning, I would say that I'm on board with that because we do have to generously season our food. It's not just about salt and pepper, and you can't put salt and pepper on everything. Salt, yes, on everything. Pepper is a spice. So when you are cooking, don't hold yourself that you have to put pepper every single time you put salt. Make sure you just season your food generously. That's my chef tip. I can go a little bit deeper. Let's talk about salt for a minute. Let's talk about salt. Honestly, it's one of my favorite ingredients. You know, and unless your doctor is telling you, hey, watch your salt intake, then you're usually fine. I'm not telling you to go home and start taking spoonfuls of salt. But when you season your food, and I mentioned it when we were cooking the poulet Creole, is how you use your salt really affects the end result. So by seasoning your meat a little bit ahead of time allows the salt to permeate go through. If you have a big roast or even say a whole chicken that you're cooking, season it a day ahead. It sounds really strange. Season it a day ahead, that salt is going to go right through, and you'll notice that the results are going to really get in. Yes. Salt can definitely tenderize meat. There's something called a dry brine. You guys maybe have heard of a wet brine with a water solution with salt, tiny bit of sugar, and spices. But you can actually dry brine, and usually with a heavier amount of salt, it can end up like wiping off. But it actually really does tenderize.
I just had a comment from somebody on YouTube, but they said, Chef, thank you for sharing your love of food. Any chance you might do another class in the near future? Tomorrow.
I would love to, probably not tomorrow. But I can't say that I have something scheduled, but I would absolutely love to do it. it's not just the kitchen is my element for the view. That's part of what I do, part of my why. And feed you too.
So that comment was from Stuart Murray from the.
From Stuart.
Hi, Stuart.
And I think that was a great addition to our calendar. We did for 2 years. We had that conversation a few times.
Mhm.
How do we share our history in different ways? People learn differently and they want to know about things differently. So we appreciate the time. Of course, you're busy, you know that. So, and your comments, please follow Chef Rob on whatever social media. YouTube,
Is
all that.
at Chef
Snapchat,
Rob Thomas on all your
platforms. And also with that, yeah.
chefrob.ca. And I also want to thank you, Nadia, Winnipeg team. I feel like you don't always get your flowers. And she puts a lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of everything into this. And you get pulled in a lot of different directions, you wear a lot of hats. But on behalf of our community, just really appreciate everything that you do.
And we would love to keep doing it, so continue to support us, continue to reach out and let us know what you like, what you don't like, and all of the other things that we can do to help encourage you to learn more about Black history. And as we go forward, continue to celebrate for the rest of this month and for the rest of this year. If you follow us, check out our website, we'll have all different activities going on throughout the year. So we don't end in February, we continue going. And we appreciate that you're here. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah, that's it for us.
That's it. Have a great night, everyone.
Shout out the podcast that you just did. You just did a podcast.
Oh, I did. I did a podcast, human rights podcast with Stuart Murray.
Yeah.
It was. You know, I know he's just so great. He's just so great the way that he engaged, the questions he asked.
Absolutely.
Big shout out to you.
Yeah. So we'll share that information on our IG. Thank you again, everyone. If you'd like to come and take pictures of food or with Chef Rob, I would oblige you.
Right? Yeah. The burger guy. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. You're welcome. And I'll get in contact when I got the spots ready. Please do. Okay, yeah, please do. Are there any ceramic? You know, I just like to. You can. I would say, I would assume yes, but you just don't see them. Just because. Evolution. Yes. 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 Yeah. All sorts of different styles. Yes. You know what they use? Again, like, not that I know, but I would assume that there is, just because of that, like there's African is probably half of it is the dishes, and half of it is actually the ingredients. My making some. I can do it. Yes. All right.
We'll see you later.
I'll look into that. If there is something, I'll definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you my information too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you for this.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for coming.
Oh,
Thank you for coming.
Oh, it was great. I actually skipped a shareholders meeting to come to this.
Pardon?
I skipped a shareholders meeting to come to this. It was not much better.
Thank you.
We'll see you later.
We'll see you.
Thanks, Jeff. That was great. Everything was delicious.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it. Great evening.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out.
I'm gonna try and make a few of these. We'll see how it goes.
Good job. Like, you make so many like just baseball clothes. Nice, I like it. Good. It's all the same. Oh,